Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It's Shabbat. I believe it's the 24th of May, 2025. I'll check that. Yep. And it's about roughly 8 o'clock in the morning. And the Lord was showing me to knock it off with the waking up early, to get on very early, so I stopped it. I was getting worn out. So now I feel pretty much like my old self again, and I was getting up too early. I was getting up 3:30, quarter to 4, 4, no more. I can't do it. It threw my whole day off. I think it threw the circadian rhythm, I don't know, but I had to stop it. So I try to get on as early as I can. But waking up in the middle of the night was just wearing me out too much. So, let's see. So what we're going to do today is a very short world recap. It's not a tremendous amount of material. Then I'll start telling you what I think you should expect. I don't like to say prepare for, because that's prepper talk, but, get your head wrapped around it, is what I would say. And then I'm going to do something I don't think I did before. Maybe, I don't know. It's been 12, 13 years on YouTube. But questions and answers, you just put them up in the chat. I'll check the chat, and I'll try to answer them. But we want to stick it pretty much to Bible prophecy, okay? All right, so we're getting into basically the final preparation. I did a number of end times reviews, and now we'll just be moving. Remember, the absolute deadline, I believe, for the closing of Year of Recompenses was the very end of July. And I don't think it's going to last that long at all. Okay? Not at all. And where are we now? Late May. So we're getting there. And I think we better get our heads into any day now. Okay? Any day. And this week ahead may prove to be a very interesting week. Okay, let me jump into the live stream, make sure we got one, and that we got sound and picture, which is rather important. And we got sound and picture. What have I got here? I have moderators. Thank you, moderators. Arkansas, huh? I know Iran will be attacked. It's in Jeremiah 49. It's called Elam. It's going to get devastated. So will Yemen. Okay, I'm not going to put the posts up in the chat. The offering information and my email address is in the description box towards the bottom. And my email is israelgiving7@gmail.com. Being a Bible-believing site, let's do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so what's going on that's significant? Okay, they met yesterday, I believe in Rome, Iran and the Americans. The Iranian foreign minister, I believe, was there. And Witkoff was definitely there. And they had a meeting, and it lasted not quite 3 hours. And Witkoff suddenly left. The alibi story that appeared in the media was that Witkoff had a flight to catch. Well, that's rather absurd. Okay? Witkoff would never book himself for these negotiations out 2 or 3 hours. That's ridiculous, you know? Witkoff probably had an American jet, military, or one of the Air Force Ones. They got 2 of them. And that's an absurd story. Like he has a flight on United, he has to catch. Ridiculous, okay? Witkoff doesn't go around flying on Delta or United or anything like that, okay? How could they provide security for him on a public flight? You know, it's ridiculous. Okay, so Witkoff stormed out, basically. What the Iranians are doing is they're saying, no, you know, if you don't want us to have a nuclear bomb, we can make a deal, okay? But if you don't want us to enrich uranium at all, we don't have the deal. What the Iranians were intending to do, in my opinion, judging from the past with them, oh, that's some idiot.
My dad, he used to like.
Oh, no, it's mine.
Just like that.
How did that happen? Okay, so they were going to continue their enrichment. They were going to let the IAE inspectors in at the beginning, and then they would, the guy's not going to come be a resident inspector. They wouldn't allow that. He'd probably come in, you know, once a month or every 3 months, and they would start out letting him come in. They would hide they would hide the spent uranium someplace. They probably already did. We understand they have another nuclear facility they never disclosed where they're making tritium. And they would just stop the guy from coming in. They would let him come in, but they wouldn't let him see everything. And, you know, then it would start deteriorating, it would drag out, and, you know, they would get months out of this. In the meantime, they would be refortifying and rebuilding and, you know, just beefing up their protection of the facilities and making more missiles and trying to get weapons from Russia and China. And, you know, that's all they were doing. And Witkoff saw through it, you know. The 200 members of Congress, the House and the Senate combined, wrote a letter to Trump, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago or something, and they signed it, and they said that they want nothing less than the dismantling of all their nuclear facilities. Any treaty that Trump administration arrives at with Iran has to be ratified by Congress. So I think that Trump realizes the chance of getting a congressional ratification of a treaty allowing them to retain nuclear facilities is a very slim prospect. So Witkoff just took off, you know. Now, Satan bots just keep going back and negotiating and negotiating and negotiating. That's their modus operandi. So Trump is going to say, well, we'll go back. And, Iran will say, well, we'll go back. And, and they both seem to be dragging it out. Israel won't attack Iran as long as there's negotiations, because it would greatly irritate Trump. So, are there still negotiations is the million-dollar question. I don't know. We'll see if they schedule another negotiation. Now, Israel did come out with a release from the military that the attack on Iran is not going to be a one-shot hit and run. They said it's going to be a drawn-out battle, if you will, or attack that's going to last at least a week. Can Israel destroy the nuclear facilities? I seriously doubt it. They don't have the aircraft that can really carry the big bombs, the 30,000 pounders. Even if they did, that probably isn't going to do it. They could put the 30 pounders in cargo planes and shove them out the back. I don't know if that would work. It might, but these 30,000 pound bombs aren't going to cut it. So what Israel could do is, first of all, normal operating procedure, you take out the radar. Then they would attack the missile cities avidly. Now, they're going to be very difficult to penetrate too. What they can do, and probably the only thing they can do, is attack ventilation shafts, which, gets the air into the facility that's hidden inside mountains. Now, I imagine Israel has located where these ventilation shafts are. I'm sure there's at least 2, if not 4. And they probably have a large fan inside the facility, like a 10-foot fan or something like that, that's high speed. And it sucks the air in from the surface. So if you blow up the ventilation shafts, which is not hard to do, a 2,000 pound bomb, it's a 500 pound bomb, it's not hard to do that, would end their ventilation, which basically is curtains, right? What are they going to do, wear an oxygen tank? Then, now they might have enough oxygen in there to last 2 or 3 days, I don't know. If the thing has very high ceilings and, and there's not that many people in there, they might have enough air for a while, but eventually it's not going to work. And the other thing they can do is bomb the exits and entrances, of which there's quite likely several for each missile city, and clog them up. Because if they open up all the doors to the exits and entrances, they would get some amount of air coming in anyway. So that would also need to be closed. So then they got a real problem. What are they going to do? They're going to have to abandon it. Could they operate it remotely? Probably not. Maybe. I don't think so. It's possible, but I doubt it. And so it's always going to be radar first to take out any threat of ground-to-air attacks on the aircraft. Then it would be that. Then I think the only option Israel really has is to start, well, the other ports that Iran has would go, and then they have to start hitting infrastructure. But I don't know if they will. By that I mean you hit the power plants, which makes it very difficult for them to rebuild. You hit power plants, you hit oil refineries, you could hit oil fields, you could hit airports of all kinds, because if you hit just the military airports, they would just confiscate the civilian airports and turn them into military airports the next day. So you have to blow the airports up, and various things above ground that are of interest to help their intelligence and their military. Railroad terminals, perhaps bridges, overpasses, things to make it very difficult for them to move war equipment around and things like that. Would they bomb military bases and try to eradicate soldiers? I doubt it. That would be, in my opinion, what they would do. Now, would they take out the Iranian ships? The Iranian ships are not really a threat to Israel. If they bring them near Israel, they'll just be gone. Our submarines could torpedo them. Our warships can hit them with anti-ship missiles. Our aircraft can destroy them, our stealth aircraft. I mean, there's multiple ways to take them out. So I don't think the Iranians are dumb enough to start hovering warships near Israel. Now, they might get cute and try to go 200, 300 miles offshore from Israel with drone launching container ships that have been modified to launch drones. And they could try something like that, but the chances are Israel would pick it up. I'm sure Israel monitors Iranian ship activity carefully. So does America, It's possible that Iran gets missile launches off at Israel, but I don't know how they're going to guide the missiles. That's where I'm puzzled, because, well, they have a above the horizon radar. It's a 1,000-mile throw to get into Israel, about 1,200 to get to the juicy targets in Israel. And they would need very serious radar, so Israel would initially start hitting that very serious radar immediately. Their mobile radar is probably nowhere near powerful enough to guide missiles into Israel. Now, China could help them, and Russia can help them, and they don't talk about this because they don't want to scare the people of Israel, but I don't know about that happening or not. They did say if Israel attacks us, we'll attack America, so they could attack the American bases in the Middle East and with the help of Yemen, and they could attack oil refineries, oil ports and piers used to offload oil from several oil-producing countries in the Middle East, like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, with the help of Yemen, and that would cause a crazy spike in oil prices, double or triple in the world, and that would be crushing to economies, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, it would be crushing to economies, okay? So, as long as Iran dances the negotiations dance with America, I don't see Israel attacking them. Trump is maybe likely going to let Israel attack Iran. And when Iran retaliates against these oil-producing countries and American bases, America can easily enter into the war without asking Congress. And then I don't know who else will join in. Probably others. Trump's going to want a lot of countries to join in so the UN can't crash down on him over this. So if he's got several large countries attacking Iran, well, there's not going to be any UN, nonsense about it. So I don't know if this is going to continue or it's going to go to war. Now, the best way to do war would be a stealthy sneak attack. In other words, not announce to Iran, we're coming, play the negotiation game with them and then attack. Would Iran do a preemptive attack? Well, there's always a possibility. The Diego Garcia is being protected by 4 F-15s. So what the heck are 4 F-15s going to do if a disguised Iranian drone launching ship that looks like a container ship or missile launching ship swarm attacks the Diego Garcia base with many drones and missiles? They could even put 2 or 3 such ships near there. To do that much takedowns, they'd have to have 6 or 8 warships at Diego Garcia. Now, they might have a bunch of anti-aircraft systems at Diego Garcia, but I don't know. So that's where we're at now. It's clear that America and Iran are scared of each other. And Trump is talking big, like he did with Greenland becoming a state, Canada, Mexico, lots of talk, no action. He did say now he's going to put a 50% tariff on everything coming from Europe into America, starting June 1, which is about a week. Now, you got to understand that that means relations with America and Europe have deteriorated drastically. 50% tariff is going to hurt Europe. So Trump is, like I keep saying, he's doing too many things all at the same time. And he's making enemies all over the place. And he's overestimating the fear that other countries have of him. He was unsuccessful in the war with the Houthis. How is he going to conquer Iran? I don't know. A ground invasion would take years. There's no prophetic time for that, and it would be massive amount of soldiers. It's not going to happen. Okay, I have a prayer request for N.E. Normandy Echo. N.E. Normandy Echo. N.E. Healing for leg pain for N.E. And I don't have initials, but the cousin of N.E. has gallstones. So the prayer request is for the cousin of N.E. to be healed from the gallstones. And if he needs surgery, it comes out good without negative side effects. Okay, so N.E. Normandy Echo, healing for leg pain. And for the cousin of N.E., healing from gallstones. And if surgery is required, a good surgery, quick recovery, no bad side effects. The humanitarian aid in Gaza is coming in and being distributed, and Hamas robbed several trucks of flour, I believe. So they're still doing it. Then they put it in their stores or friends of their stores and sell it for crazy prices. It's supposed to go to the people for free. So they just use the Gazans as human shields. They don't care about it. We're getting reports that Pakistan is preparing to attack India. Remember, India never reneged on their, shrinking the water coming into Pakistan. And their goal is to diminish the amount of water coming into Pakistan to nothing, which means Pakistan is smoked, they're cooked. In terms of how this attack is going to materialize or to what extent, we really don't know. Okay? We don't know. We'll see what happens. Do I think they'll do it? Well, I think sooner or later they're going to do it, or they're going to have no water. The water's been diminished, but they still get water. The U.S. did lift the sanctions on Syria. We're being told that now Israel controls 85% of Gaza with the military. From Asia Pacific, I'm not picking up much news. Ukraine and Russia, the fight continues. They're clobbering each other. Russia hit Kiev, and it's just round and around we go. It's just nobody's winning. Now, what I believe we need to understand is when the day of vengeance. Oh, let me see if we're getting end times questions. Some people don't want to put them up, but you certainly can. Okay. I'm not getting questions. If any of you have questions, just put them up. The day of vengeance, which is likely the last day of recompenses. It could be the beginning of redemption as well. I think it's more likely in recompenses, but this day will more than likely be when the Lord does Jeremiah 30 verse 11. He destroys all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. And this could likely happen this week or next week or something like that. It's not, we're running close in time, okay? And it may not come from wars. There'll be some wars. America is definitely going to be attacked, okay? 100%. And wiped out. And when that happens, the other nations are still around because they were around to attack America. And they loot and pillage it. And they're very successful at that. And I imagine they take the plunder home with them. What is the plunder? I don't know. I mean, we could hitting the museums, wealthy people's houses, jewelry, gems, gold. They're probably not going to take paper money. probably food. I don't know. The normal stuff, I suppose. The nations attacking may send cargo vessels to load up the booty, which could be cars, trucks, aircraft even. I don't know. America has a lot of wealth. They've had a lot of wealthy people in America for hundreds of years. So that probably precedes the day of vengeance, because the nations get destroyed in the day of vengeance. So how are they going to pick up and go attack Israel? America. They're not. So it probably precedes, and that's going to change the world. Would that encourage a severe siege on Israel? Of course. Of course, America's not able to help Israel. Europe won't. Nobody will. So they could do more of a siege on us, and that's when the two witnesses wipe them out. So we're getting to the serious stuff, okay? And it's not going to be a long time anymore, okay? And in the year of redemption, we'll see the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man in the clouds, and we'll be redeemed with everlasting life. And then the next great exodus will start. Now, the separation in timing between the destruction of America and the next great exodus is probably very, very brief, days or weeks, or something, pretty quick. Because they go out of America on the exodus, and there's probably the same exodus. So it may not be a big separation in time. Another thing in Scripture is the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. So when they loot America, they're going to take the stuff out, and then they're going to turn against Israel, and then we'll loot them and get the wealth into America, into Israel. Okay? That's the way it'll evolve, I believe. So I think we're at showtime for America. It should change the world rather quickly. With a 50% tariff on European goods, don't expect them to come help America. Nobody will. No. Iran's not giving up their nuclear ambitions. They're playing a game with America where you could save face, and we could save face, but we're still going to develop nukes. And that's, who's the father of lies? Satan, and that's what Iran is running with. They're these crazy terrorist-oriented countries, so Satan, the Muslim terrorist-oriented are Satan's chosen people. They want to kill Israel. So Satan was a murderer from the beginning and the father of lies. So that's what Iran is. So we need to also be prepared for preemptive attacks by Iran on America, American bases, oil refineries, Israel, etc. Iran is, going to see the writing on the wall and they're going to keep dragging it out. But they have to have a goal for dragging it out, unless it's just that they're playing, I hope this goes away, which is possible. But Iran is prepping for something, and America is too. %50 tax on Europe is pretty stupid. You gotta admit. It's stupid. He taxed them more than China. Now, he might downgrade it. If he did 10% or something like that, I could see Europe would put up with it, But 50% is a slap shot, So the snare that America in is getting tighter and tighter. Okay. Can Trump just say, well, Iran's not making a deal, they're going to have nukes, screw it. Let's figure something else out. Let's worry about something else. I don't know. He committed himself pretty harshly. So he walked away from fighting the Houthis, and now if he just lets Iran develop nukes without attacking them and dismantling the nuclear facilities, he's going to look like a big mouth, and that's all there is. So nobody's going to respect him. He's going to be like Rodney Dangerfield. I can't get no respect, People will laugh at him. He'll put sanctions on them. They'll put counter sanctions back. And, that's all that's going to happen. Also, if he decides to walk away without fighting Iran may figure that he's very weak and do a preemptive strike against America. So the situation is a little fluid, and it's deteriorating for Trump. Trump can't really get much of anything done, can he? No. Domestically, yeah, because he has all the control. But internationally, he barely gets anything accomplished. He just goes around making more and more enemies. And as far as I know, he hasn't done beans about the sleeper agents. He probably doesn't know what to do. Netanyahu is defying the Attorney General, who told him that he cannot fire the head of Shin Bet. That's something kind of like our FBI in Israel, but it's more like a cross between the FBI and a domestic CIA. It doesn't work internationally. I mean, it might work in Gaza or Syria or Lebanon, but it doesn't work in Europe or Africa or anything like that. That's Mossad. So he's appointing a former general or a general to the post of the head of Shin Bet, defying the Attorney General. So her recourse is now to go to the High Court, the Supreme Court of Israel, and order some type of decision from the Supreme Court to stop Netanyahu from doing this. I don't know if she'll do that, it's a woman, or if the court will issue it. I suspect she will do it, and I suspect it will issue it. And then we have the possibility that Netanyahu may ignore it and go into full rebellion against the democracy. by ignoring, in a democracy you got three factors. You got legislative, the Knesset, executive, Netanyahu, the prime minister, and you got judicial, the Supreme Court. And if he ignores the Supreme Court, he's basically saying there is no more democracy. And a lot of people here in Israel will become crazy over that. So there could be a civil war against the Netanyahu administration. A civil war in Israel with the people fighting the people is highly, highly unlikely. Fighting against Netanyahu's government is highly likely. And the military may just sit this one out and say, we're not going to defend Netanyahu, he's violating the democracy. And then what? Well, then Netanyahu falls. When we read the end times prophecy like Malachi 3 and 4 and Zechariah 12, we don't read at all about the Israeli Defense Forces and the government of Israel. They're not there. It's the judges of Israel, the two witnesses. We don't read anything about the government. So does Iran wipe out the government and the military? I doubt it. We do read in Zechariah 4 that they get burned up. And we do read in Ezekiel 38 the bad shepherds get it, which would include the government as well as others like the rabbis and the so-called Christian church and congregation leaders and stuff. So they might be around, but they don't have a seriously functioning government anymore. Could be from an attack from Iran. It could be Netanyahu pushes things too far and then people overthrow them. They get rid of them. And then the countries interpret that as a sign of weakness with Israel, and they increase the siege combined with America getting attacked. So it's very difficult to dot all the I's and cross all the T's in prophecy. We're given an overview and we're given the end result. How we get to the end result, we don't know. Okay? Maybe God doesn't want to reveal to his enemies how he's going to do it, so he doesn't give them the build-up and the steps to the destruction of these countries. He just shows you their destruction. So, because I think time is so short, I don't really think the nations are going to be destroyed by war. I think they're going to be destroyed by Jehovah in one day. Lots and lots of things are going to happen in one day. Lots of things. And that's going to glorify Jehovah. Moses and Aaron, they did the plagues over weeks. But in this thing, it's in that day, boom, it's in one day. Okay. So you got to get ready for that stuff, and you got to get ready for redemption, for the appearing in the clouds, and then leaving. And you'll stop in the wilderness on the way to Israel, and you'll enter into the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod. Let me take a look at the chat here and see if we're getting questions. Third temple news. Okay, guys, listen, there's been 3 temples. The piece of garbage false teachers teach you the next temple is the third temple. In the Bible, there's Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and Herod's temple. All legitimate temples. The next temple is temple number 4. These people are lying to you. They know the difference. Natural disasters. Well, volcanoes and various storms and earthquakes are definitely on the rise, and that's a birth pain. You got to pay attention to that. I put some of this stuff up on my Telegram. But I don't want to be an earthquake and volcano reporting service. You can check that stuff easily on the internet. They got sites dedicated to that. Sufficient to know it's on the rise. It may get worse, but it already is on the rise, so it doesn't necessarily have to get on the rise more. Okay. I'm having issues with my iPad here. Okay, let me get where I need to be here. Hold on. Why is this not? Oh, there we go. What to do? Okay. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace but a sword. Yes. Yeshua said that. Yes. Someone says, I am excited to find out what tribe I belong to. Well, that's interesting. Well, not getting really any questions. I don't have a good message prepared other than what I kind of gave you. So what you got to get ready for is the destructions of the nations, and then they're going to leave, and they're going to bring the lost tribes basically to Israel as an offering to the Lord, along with wealth and everything else, and they're going to stay here as our possessions, which means slaves. And people don't like that, but that's what it is. And That's what's going to happen. Now, what's going to happen to the church, I'm going to remind you so you don't get shocked when it happens. Okay? Because they violate Galatians 5:19-21, which says those that do variance, which is different doctrinal statements, and those that do seditions, which is divisions, which is denominations, will not enter the kingdom of God. It's rated right up there with adultery and murder. Okay? Right there. And they ignore it. Okay? They ain't going to make it. They're out there replacing Israel in every way, shape, or form. They pray for Israel, some of them. Okay, great. Well, if you see a guy laying on the road and he has no clothes, he has no water, he has no food, or, what's the proper thing? Do you go over to him and say, well, I'll pray for you and keep walking, or do you do something to help him? You understand? Plus, I don't know who's going to hear their prayers. But they just pray. They get an Israeli flag, and they get 10 or 15 people. They stand there, we pray for Israel. Do they do anything for Israel? No. What do they don't do anything. Occasionally you hear of a handful of people from the churches come over here and help Israel harvest crops or something like that. Okay, great. That's a few people. Maybe they are going to be okay. Okay? But that's like 100,000th of 1% of the church world, or less even. Okay? We haven't really been seeing a lot of people come out of the churches. Okay? And we may likely not. They ain't going to repent. They're not going to admit they were wrong. They're going to stay with it, and that's it. Time is so short. They're going to go into sheer panic and derision when America gets hit, as will most people. But hopefully you won't, because it has to happen. And yesterday I covered the scripture, you're not going to go out with haste or with flight. Okay? You're going to have everlasting life when you leave, and you're going to go out. You're going to be taking the stroll. In the 50s, there was a song which created a dance in America on the rock and roll front called The Stroll, where they would walk, they would form in a dance room like the kids would be on the right side and the left side, and they would rotate around, and then the girls would come from one side, the boys from other, and they would walk up doing the stroll, which was a little slow walk to music, you might say. It didn't last long, but you can look it up on YouTube. You'll find it, the stroll. And, it's what I think of when I say the stroll. You're just going to, you're not going to run. You're not going to panic and like two grizzly bears are chasing you. You're just going to walk out. And you're going to have wealth and riches when you go. Count on. Your days of being poor are over. Your days of being downtrodden, beaten, sick, injured, falling apart like all of us guys. I don't know why so many of us are beaten up physically, but so many of us are. Me too. And I don't really know why. The only thing I could think of is he says, I will not leave your sins unpunished, So maybe he's punishing us because we all did plenty of sins. He's punishing us before we get to redemption, because then there is no more punishing us. Unless we completely decide to rebel against Jehovah, which we're not going to do. I would think you'd never do that. Really, I think that. Okay? So, you're going to own land, you're going to have servants, you're going to have animals, you're going to have crops. You're not going to have to do a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of children being made. You're going to have a lot of family time. And you're going to have, I would think, a long rest period. I would go 40 years anyway, in my estimation. I'm guessing, but it's going to be a little rough at the beginning because we still got to play wipeout on some nations, I believe. It's not going to be very rough, and we're not going to have casualties or anything, you know. But then it's going to be a lot of rest. And, you know, like sitting under the apple tree or the fig tree, sitting under the fig tree. Hanging out with the other people in your community, and everybody's a believer, and everybody treats each other like themselves, and, you know, you're going to be like, I wouldn't say in shock, you're going to be like, huh? What? I don't know how to function in this environment. What do I do? I mean, this is great, but, you know, I don't know. It's like, let's say you took a kid, a 9-year-old kid from the ghetto, okay, that never left the hood, and you bring him to, just to pick a lousy example, Disney World, right? And the kid walks in through the gate and sees all this Disney stuff, and the kid just goes, huh? That's what you're going to be like. It's not, Disney is demonic. You're not going to be in a demonic environment. You're going to be in such a wonderful place. You're not going to, you know, I don't know how you're going to figure out how to deal with it. I don't know how I am, but I mean, I know we all will, okay? It's not going to get us in shock where we're going to sit down in the corner and tremble with our knees. And, yep, it's not going to be like that. You're going to jump into it, but nobody really knows their way because we haven't been there before, but Jehovah does. And the Holy Spirit does, and they'll lead us, and we'll figure it out. And it's not going to be very tough at all, but it's going to be amazing. The earth has never seen anything like this before. No, we never have. And it's going to be amazing. And you'll get into the swing of it, okay? It'll take you a little time to understand servants and slaves and wealth and riches. You'll figure it out. God will show you. I can help some because when I was before I did the ministry, I was a believer, but I lived in a lavish environment where I had 8 or 9 servants and big houses, you know, with outbuildings. And yeah, I could explain some of this to you about how to run with servants. It's not going to be that hard, though. Okay. The servants may become believers even, or the slaves. I don't know. Read Philemon. There's a slave thing going on over there. So, now we're not going to be like the Romans. The Romans were actually pigs the way they ran slaves. I mean, they were disgusting what they did. The Romans were so degenerated, it's unbelievable, you know. It really is. And I think most of the heathens were that way, the Greeks, and, you know, they were all Babylonians, or they were all this way. But we won't be. You'll treat them good, they'll do Shabbat, you'll insist that they don't work. So what you'll have them do is on Friday they'll prep the food and leave the food for you. So when Shabbat starts, you'll have your Shabbat dinner. And then leave the dishes till Saturday night, and then during Saturday. Now remember, you could eat a large meal for Shabbat. Now nobody serves you when Shabbat starts. The table's laid out, the food could be hot or whatever, right? You sit down, you pray, and you scarf it up, right? But you could eat a lot, okay? Why? Because then you're not going to be very hungry in the morning. But you could eat things in the morning that don't require much preparation, like what? Sandwiches made the day before in the fridge, right? Sandwich meat, cheese, mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise, whatever, and bread in the fridge in a plastic bag or whatever we have back then in the future. You could have hard-boiled eggs. You could have banana, peaches, pears, watermelon, blah, 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 right? Figs, dates, bread. If you got canned food, you can have canned food. You peel the can off. That is not exactly work. You got to feed and water your dogs and animals, for sure. Because what are you going to do? Not give them water and food, and they're supposed to have a horrible Shabbat? That doesn't work, and they do no work. Now you're not going to be able to stop your dog from protecting your property. You can't sit there and say, listen, it's Shabbat, we don't, the dog ain't going to know what you're talking about, okay? Your ox, your donkey, your horse, they don't do anything. And you just hang out. Can you walk around your neighborhood and visit them? Of course you can. Just don't go traveling out of your little area, out of your little town or village or whatever. You don't do that. So your servants kick the Shabbat. So you have to allow for them to prep their own food on Shabbat. On Friday, they prep for you and they prep for them, right? Okay. So they eat on Shabbat like you do. You don't prep it. Now you could have take a can of tuna, open it, dump it in a dish, throw the mayonnaise on, the salt, pepper, whatever, and eat that. You just get into cereal, you dump the cereal in a bowl, you pour the milk in. Where's the work? Right? Now, when Shabbat is over, okay, your servants can come to work. Or not if you don't want it. It depends. Look, if Shabbat's over at 5:30, you're probably going to want your servants to come to work and make you the meal. So they'll clean up the dishes from your Friday evening meal, and then they'll prep you some food and make you some food. Now, if Shabbat's over at 8 o'clock, well, then you wouldn't really have dinner till 9:30 or 10. I don't know if you'd want that. Some people would, some people wouldn't. But since Shabbat is over, you're free to, fry a steak, or, you can do what you want, right? And just slap together a quick meal, and, it's up to you what you want to do. Maybe we'll be happy to stay up late. I don't think we'll be sleeping anymore, so we probably wouldn't care. And, but we got to remember, they do Shabbat like we do Shabbat. Now, somebody got to feed and water the animals. Is that you or the servants? I don't think it matters. That's not a violation of Shabbat, because the animals have to have their Shabbat. Now, are we going to have vehicles? I think so, but I can't establish it for sure. I don't know. I think so. I certainly don't read of Israel clearing out the $250,000 motor vehicles that just froze on the road. I don't see that. I don't know. I think we'll have them. We're going to get away from wearing strange clothes, probably not the first day, but we'll eventually be into more or less days of Yeshua garments, which would be like robes and tunics, linen, cotton, wool, whatever. Right in the winter, you probably want a warm one. Linen is a very good one for the cool for the warmish weather. I don't think our weather will be the same anymore. So you're not going to be wearing running shoes and Levi's and tank tops for the women, and it's not going to happen. Okay? Are you going to be wearing jewelry? Oh yeah. You'll be wearing all kinds of jewelry. Women, men, rings, necklaces, bracelets, what do they call them? Ankle bracelets or an anklet. You'll be having all that stuff. The best of the world. You'll have a ton of it. You'll have all you want. Are you going to have gold and silverware and dishes? Yeah, sure you will. Yeah. Are you going to drink wine? Probably, but you're not going to get drunk, but you can drink wine with, I think the wine isn't going to be very strong. My wife studied that. She thinks it's not as strong as what we call wine today, which is probably around 12% alcohol or something. I think it'll be more like beer. 6%, 5, 6, 7%, something like that. So you drink it and you'll get a little calming effect, but you're not going to get, This is going to be rebuilding Israel. That's going to take some years, I expect. And it's just going to be a wonderful period. And I think after about, as a guess, 63 years, we're going to see the falling away. So we're going to have a pretty long run of just having great marriages, lots and lots of children. Will he change the gestation period from 9 months to less? I don't know. Will the women not have such painful labor? I think they will not. I think they will not. Will they still be menstruating? No idea. I have no idea. And is it still going to be hard on the women walking around with a big belly with a kid in there? Yeah, I think so. But remember, we got the everlasting life, so we're able to take a whole lot more. So it may not really bother them anymore. I think that's part of encouraging us to be fruitful and multiply. That's going to be a very big part of what we're supposed to do. Have loving families. Enjoy our spouses. And enjoy many children. You're going to have a lot of them. And it's going to be fun. You'll have a good time. And it's going to be family values, like when your kids grow up and get married, what you're going to likely do is smack 1 or 2 rooms onto your house so they move in there. So now you become grandma and grandpa rather quickly. Or maybe you smack together a little place for them to live, 50 feet from your house or something. And that's kind of the way it'll go. And you're going to love your neighbors and your fellow Israelites, not just your family. That's wrong. But you're going to love your family too, and they're going to love you, and you're going to have a lot of fun. So what are we going to do? Well, I could pretty much tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to go to Facebook or YouTube or all that crap. That I'm quite sure will be done away with. I think. It's not correct. I think that'll be gone. We're not going to go to the movies and watch demonic themed movies. We're not going to put the TV on and watch murder and debauchery. That ain't going to go on. We're going to go back to real flesh life, like when I grew up. You know, kids will play together. What are they going to play? Well, they can play soccer. They can play baseball. What's wrong with baseball? What's wrong with basketball? Nothing. What's wrong with playing relay races with your friends or hide and go seek? Or, nothing. What's wrong? What's the problem? You want to play red light, green light? They're going to play face to face with their friends. Kids know how to entertain themselves. They invent ways to keep themselves, engrossed in. They'll have a good time. Okay? Are we going to have an education system like we've experienced? Never. Go to school and get taught lies? No. We're going to have some education, probably from the Levites, and it's going to be basically, reading and writing, I suppose, and arithmetic, and, history of Israel and Bible stuff and that kind of thing. I don't think we're going to, worry about, what happened in World War II and the American Revolution and, Russian Revolution. Who cares? Satan's countries, it's just a memory that's gone away. We don't care about that. You'll have businesses. Some of you may make sandals. Some of you may make clothing. Some may make jewelry. Some may bake goods. Not everybody's going to grow stuff. Some of you will run retail and restaurants, I suppose, and hotels. Why not? You use your indentured servants and slaves to do that work. I think we'll be using sandals. Now, I need to tell you that when it's hot in Israel, and I don't think we're going to have that extreme weather anymore, when you put sandals on, you're a lot cooler for some crazy reason. But you also get dirty feet, and you got to wash them off when you come home. They get dusty. So I used to come home, take the sandals off, and go turn the shower on and stick my foot in it and rinse them off, So that's why you hear about the washing the feet. Your feet get dirty. Even if you're walking on concrete, it's going to get dirty. So sandals aren't that bad. I don't wear them very much at all anymore, but I used to. Are we going to have hospitals and doctors? No, I don't think so. Pharmacies? No, I don't think so. People, incense is going to be very popular. Perfumes will be very popular. Music instruments will go on. Levites will have an anointing for music, and they'll do music. Dancing, yeah, they'll be dancing. Celebratory. But we have a lot of parties with your neighbors and friends and family where you come over and you have dinner and there's music and you celebrate and yeah. You're not going to hear the Iron Dome going off. You're not going to hear red alerts. You're not going to be waiting for the Houthis to lob missiles over here. None of that. You're not going to hear fighter jets. You're just going to be calm. You're going to hear birds, that's what you're going to hear in the sky. Birds. And that's okay. The food's going to be really good. Some will travel, some will go to other countries and spread the gospel. You're going to have a lot of fun with the dry bones that lived a long time ago, asking them questions and them talking to you. That'll be nothing short of amazing. And Apostle John will be able to tell you all about Yeshua and the days on earth, because he saw much of it, and he was there. He knows lots of stuff. He might have scrolls and manuscripts that we don't know about. He probably knows a lot of stuff, more than what he wrote down, I guess. He'll be able to tell us about what went on in the temple, sacrifices, offerings, the calendar, all this kind of stuff. He'll be a wealth of information. Something else I want to prepare you for. I've mentioned this before, and I want to bring it up again so you don't get too terribly surprised. Let me look the verse up here. I wrote it down. Amos 9, verse 12. Here we go. That they may possess the remnant of Edom. See, Edom's going to get wiped out, and assuming we're going to possess what's the remnant of them, it's going to be us. That means slaves. That's not hire them. Okay? You got to get ready for that. And of all the goyim, heathen, which are called by my name, saith Jehovah, that doeth this. Now, the heathen that are called by his name, they call themselves Christians. The word for Christ or Christ comes from Christos, which comes from the Hebrew Mashiach, which means anointed or Messiah, as they refer to it, not correctly, but so people know what they're talking about. And that would not be the Muslims, the Hindus, or the Buddhists. It could be the Muslims, maybe because of Allah, but Allah's not his name, so it can't be him. So it's the church people, Galatians 5:19-21. As a punishment for their replacement theology and all the lies they spread to each other and other people, and violating the scriptures, they're going to be possessed as slaves. God is very mad at them. Okay? That's what's going to happen. And you better be ready for it. We'll pray for Israel. Yeah. What do they ever do for us? Yeah. They tell the world they're going to be raptured, go up to heaven, and come back as gods with the Messiah and reign over us with a rod of iron. They're complete lunatics. And, Just wait for it to happen. A lot of you aren't going to believe me, but you will believe me when it happens, but it's going to be too late for you. They're not coming out, are they? I mean, I don't see them coming out of the church. Yes, the Lord always keeps his promises and his written word. And we got a prayer request here. Let's see. Okay. So what have we got here? We got a prayer for, so it's MH, Mike Hotel, MH, Mike Hotel. Pray for the daughter of MH to be healed from COVID problems. Okay, so the daughter of MH, Mike Hotel, be healed of COVID problems. No, you're not going to panic. The church is going to panic. No, they can't comprehend the reality of the real scriptures. No, they don't understand. When America gets attacked, they're going to cave. Yeah, Jehovah's going to do a lot in that day of vengeance. He's just going to really bring glory to him. Okay. Shouldn't want to cry, you should want to celebrate. All the bad stuff's going to be over. I mean, you're going to be so happy. So happy. And it's going to be really exciting, in a good way. Not exciting like somebody shooting at you or missiles are coming, in a good way, because every day you're going to look forward to the good experiences that day has in store for you. And when you have the everlasting life, Jehovah's going to talk to you. He'll say, no, that's not the way. Go this way. Everything will be good. He's not going to leave you to make your own mistakes and then try to put the pieces together. He's going to keep you on the right path. So everything you do is going to prosper. In the city, out of the city, everything you do is going to prosper courtesy of your Heavenly Father. And if you're doing something that's going to be a mistake, he'll stop you before you go through it. He'll stop you and say, no, do it this way. And then you'll listen. Of course you'll listen. And it'll all work out. It's a whole different thing. It's so different. So, so different. You know, while we've been waiting a long time for this, right? Jehovah's been waiting a whole lot longer for this. But he couldn't leave Israel altogether unpunished for getting the Messiah killed. And now it's over. And now he yearns for us to come back. He wants us back. And back we will be. And we want to be back. So we want each other. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And it's going to happen. And the days ahead might be rather exciting, let's say. I didn't say the weeks or months. I said the days. And if you're in America, don't worry when it gets hit. You don't have to worry. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You know, that's their problem, not your problem. And some of you will come on the ships to Tarshish to Israel, to the wilderness, and then Israel, I guess. And I don't know where the wilderness is. And the ships of Tarshish is probably the cruise ships. And that ought to be fun. Cruise ships can be fun. When you get rid of the debauchery, like, you know, what would we do? We would take the gambling casinos with the card tables and the roulette wheels, and where do they go? Overboard, right? They go overboard. And they have a nice big area that can be used with chairs for Bible studies. You know, the spinning wheels, the roulette wheels, the card tables, any of the other crap they got, boop, overboard. And that's the end of the gambling casinos. What about the coffee places where they got the Starbucks kind of coffee? Well, that's fine. Keep it pumping. The ice cream machines, oh, keep them flowing. The kids need that. Some of the adults will too. And the pizza, keep it pumping. And the buffets, keep it flowing. And the swimming pool, well, that needs to be dealt with probably. You can't have, women may not know, you can't have women running around in bikinis and men with Speedos and that kind of stuff. I think it's probably let the children use the swimming pool maybe, or just shut it, just drain the water in the end of the swimming pool is there, that's it. Jacuzzis, you gotta segregate that, but you could. They're kind of therapeutic and nice. You could segregate a man jacuzzi and a woman jacuzzi, and there's usually more than one pool on the cruise ship, so you could designate a pool for the women and another pool for the men, and that would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. What about music? Yeah, but we're not going to play AC/DC, you know, godly songs, right? What about the theater in the cruise ships where they can seat a few thousand people? Well, what could we do in the theater? Let's see. Sing praise, take prayer requests, and talk Bible? Oh, how nice. And what else could we do on a cruise ship? Let's see. I've been on, I don't know, 20, 25 cruises. Let's see. Some of them have an ice skating ring. Is there anything wrong with the ice skating ring? I can't think of anything wrong with an ice skating ring. Let the people go ice skating. Some of them have arcades that would probably need to go overboard for the most part, because a lot of them are, you know, demonic themed, and, you know, that probably isn't a good thing. Ping pong. Ping pong, your lights out. Basketball. Ping pong, shoot baskets all day. You want to shoot baskets? Go for it. Golf driving courses where you got a net and it's a simulator and you drive golf balls into the net. People want to do that. I don't see a problem with that. Maybe it's a waste of time, but I don't see a problem with that. What else? Laying out in the sun and getting a tan. Well, again, there's a women's section, one pool for the women, one for the men. Small children go with the women, and the bigger ones go with either the women or the men, depending on their gender. You get sunburned rather quickly and badly on cruise ships, by the way, because you get the sun bearing down on you. And then you get the sun bouncing off the water at you. You get a double whammy of the sun. So, I'm not kidding you, in 45 minutes you could be red like a lobster. So I would tell you start with 15 minutes and go up 5 minutes a day or something if you want to get a tan. Now they have walking, jogging tracks on the cruise ships, and if you wanted to do your exercise and take a stroll for a mile or two, hey, enjoy yourself. But you don't want to walk around exposing your body, wearing just shorts or something. So you want to dress, modestly, and they have gyms, and if you want to go to the gym and work out, I don't see a problem. I think we'd have to have a women's time period and a men's time period to segregate that. They got spas there with a lot of interesting water things. Again, it would have to be segregated, which could be arranged. Could be, I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to be that interested in this with our everlasting life. We're not going to have the aches and pains. We're not going to really see the value of sitting in hot water with jets. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. So you could close the pools and the jacuzzis easily, and there's still a lot of things to do. I mean, a lot of things. Now, some of them have water slides. Could we do that? Yeah, I suppose it's, I don't know, I'd have to search the Lord. It's a thrill-seeking thing, which I'm not a fan of. Trying the Lord, Some of them have roller coasters, some of them have zip lines, and I don't know if we need to do things like that. Try the Lord, why? They have rock climbing walls, so that's a little different. They have safety lines, and that's a skill thing. So if you want to climb a rock climbing wall, I suppose that would work. It's we got to make a big issue of modesty. Dressing modestly and not running around like people are used to at the beach. That gotta go. So the water activity is maybe not needed. I don't think the kids need to go down, 90-foot water slides, woo, I don't know. They have day camps or camps on the cruise ship for kids. So that would probably go on. For different age groups and stuff. Why not? You got to be careful in a lot of the cabins. A lot of the cabins have balconies. And they have rails and pieces of glass there. But little kids could throw things off the balcony. Like your clothes, or your jewelry, so don't want to let little kids on the balcony unsupervised at all, ever, okay? Kid could climb. I mean, a big kid, a 4 or 5-year-old, could stand on a chair and climb over the balcony. You don't want them on the balcony. The other categories are inside cabins, which are dark and gloomy, and you have trouble waking up because you don't get circadian rhythm in there. But they're okay. And then they got cabins with windows, not balconies. Those are nice. And then you got the balcony cabin, which is very prevalent. And then you have suites, where you have basically 2 rooms and a larger balcony, and they could be nice. And then they got a few, King Kong suites where they're 3,000 square feet. Some of them have sliding ponds for the kids. They're 2-3 stories high, and they go down that. That's fine. They have pianos. They have a jacuzzi on the balcony. Now that would work. If a husband and wife wanted to have one, they go sit in the jacuzzi in their privacy. Yeah, go for it. But I don't think we're going to have a need for that. It's just going to be silly to sit in hot water when we don't need the therapy. I don't think it's going to happen. Same with steam rooms. I don't think we're going to do it. It's going to be like, what am I doing here? I don't need this. That's pretty much what it'll be. If you wanted to use the running track and run, could you? Yeah, if you wanted to. If you guys put on slacks and a shirt and your running shoes or whatever you want to wear and run. Just don't bang into people, but run. Will the seas be rough? No. God will take care of that. Will it be calm? Oh yeah. Are you going to have to worry about getting seasick? Not really. Not because of the Lord. You won't get seasick. The most stable place in the ship is about 3 or 4 decks high in the center of the boat. The least stable is all the way up at the top in the rear or the front. I've been on cruises where I had to hang on to the mattress because it was going up and down so much, and I was just cracking up laughing. But some people don't do so good with that. But I don't think you'll have any trouble with that. You'll have everlasting life. It won't bother you. Will you stop on the way to the wilderness or Israel? Well, you might have to pick up more people. I don't know. It could be. So you might need to stop. The cabins are small. They're usually most of them are 300 to 400 square feet. That's it. Okay? And some are even smaller, like 250, 260. The bathrooms are typically small. The showers are very hard for me to move around without banging into the walls. They're plastic wall little showers, but they work okay. The toilet's a toilet. The sinks are sinks. If you get into the more elaborate cabins, you'll get a bathtub and a shower. Some of them have a jacuzzi bathtub. Some of them have a bidet, not that many. And you'll have 2 sinks and mirrors and stuff like that. They have closets for your clothing and possessions. You can store stuff under the beds. The beds are usually twin beds, and you can join them together and make something like a king bed. Some of them have pull-down beds for kids. Some of them have cots, and, it works out. It'd probably be rationing of the rooms based on the family unit size, you know. Somebody with 4 kids is going to be having a better chance, I think, of getting a suite than a single person, you know. Now, single people would probably share a cabin, 2 men, 2 women, you know. Why not? Um, you could sit outside on the deck of the boat at night. That's kind of pleasant. If the ship shuts all their lights off, you'll be able to see all the stars, which would be amazing. But I don't know if it's safe to shut all the lights off in the middle of the ocean. It's a kind of, you know, do you really want to do that, you know? You don't see many stars when all the lights are on. You see almost nothing. Um, could you sleep out on the deck on the lounge chairs by the pool? Yeah, you could. If you got a balcony room, you can keep your balcony door open and sleep and get the ocean air that way. Usually the balconies are not big enough to have any kind of reclining lounge on there. It's just chairs. And they got a little table. So you could eat out on your balcony. You could eat in the dining room. You could eat in the buffet, I guess. Um, what else can you do? I'm thinking. Well, they have photo centers, which I don't think we'll have any need for. They have shops that sell stuff. I don't think we'll have any need for that. They have a lot of bars, but I don't know why we wouldn't have wine in the bar or maybe beer. I think hard liquor we don't need to be indulging in. But I don't use alcohol, but if you're going to drink wine, you can. Beer is not much of an alcohol thing. Getting drunk is wrong, but just having it, you can do that, I suppose. Um, I guess I'm covering most of what they have on the ships. Just got to get the debauchery out of that and the gluttony and the alcoholism and the sex and all of that, and you're fine, you know. The crew might bring you over there and then go back for another run or two and then stay in Israel. Um, Others will walk to Israel or be carried by the heathen. Those are the ones that are probably in the Middle East. So these cruise ships might be bringing people to Israel for months. Israelites like in India and parts of Africa down south, I don't know how they're going to walk up here. That'd be a pretty big walk, you know. 1,800-mile walk, you know, or something like that, you know. Crossing the Atlantic in a cruise ship is probably going to be a week. Getting to Israel 10 days, I guess, 12 days. But I think you'll have a ball on the ship. Don't be afraid of the ship. It ain't going to sink on you anyway. And I used to like to wake up reasonably early on the ships, like 7, you know. Some people like to get up at 5. I don't want to do that anymore. You get up about 7. A lot of these ships, well, that's about what'll happen with the ships. It'll be fun. What's going to happen in the wilderness, we don't know yet. The tabernacle could likely be there. The two witnesses in the glory of God could be there, like with Moses and Aaron, who were basically the two judges back then. It could be the case. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe Apostle John will be there. I don't know. I don't have the details yet. But whatever it is, your Heavenly Father is going to make it so good, you're going to be like, it's going to be that good that you're going to be, to say you're in shock, shock's a bad word. You're just going to be stunned by how good it is. And that's what you need to wrap your head around now, because it's really close. It's going to be so good. We can't imagine how good it'll be. Okay? And wait, you haven't even started getting married and having all these children that are going to be wonderful. You know, they're not going to put a leather jacket on and come home and tell you they joined the Mayans or the Hells Angels. You're not going to have any of that. You're going to have wonderful children, raising them in the Lord. You're going to have, it's just going to be so good. The food will be good. Everything will be good. For a long time. Those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. And you won't be. You won't be disappointed. But that's an understatement. You'll be amazed in a great way. All right, let me take another look at the live stream and see if anybody... Questions and answers don't seem to work here, but... How will we be led on a ship? Oh, God will work that out. I don't have all the little details. He'll lead you to get on the ship. Don't worry. Tacos on the Lido deck. Yeah, tacos, hot dogs, pizza, burgers. They got sushi. They got all kinds of stuff there. Turkey, prime rib, steaks, eggs, salmon, all kinds of stuff. You have to be of age, and you have to be on your own, not with your family. And then you would be able to get your own inheritance. Most of the teenagers and young men would be with their family. So the days of all our tribulation and trials are just closing out, okay? But there's going to be, I'm sure, quite a few dead people in the world and a lot of destruction. And you got to get ready for that, okay? And that's just the way it's going to be. That's it. You got to accept it. So that's it. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances and pray for better videos. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. I think the pets' lives may very well become extended by decades, but I don't have a scripture, but I think that'll probably happen. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my, should pray for better videos, and I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.